So, in preparation for our vocabulary strategy assignment, the first thing I did was just research in general, looking for research based ways to teach vocabulary strategies. And I actually found a lot of good resources. The first thing I looked at from Prodigy was 7 creative strategy to improve vocabulary teaching. So I wanted to narrow it down to decide which one that spoke to me, that I thought that was the most interesting to investigate. So I found how to connect word meanings with semantic mapping, and that is basically just a type of graphic organizer, and using that you can display a relationship between words or phrases. So if there are students that don't understand a vocabulary word, you help explain that word by thinking of the other words that are related to that. So for example, you can select a student to draw that keyword on the chalkboard, and then you would encourage all the students to help participate in creating the map by adding additional words that are connected to that keyword. So if a student wrote the keyword farm, then the other students would be able to write other words like cow, barn, horses, hay, farmer, that sort of thing. So semantic maps do help build children's vocabulary and the reading comprehension, and you can actually continue it week to week by then adding more challenging words, and that would help them grow their vocabulary as well as become more confident in their reading and writing abilities. So even looking at it from a specific way that when it needs to be differentiated, from the Texas Center for Learning Disabilities, that was also listed as an important thing to help struggling students. So where semantic maps visually display the connection of the word or the phrases, implementing that helps especially struggling students or students with learning disabilities to help remember the meanings of words and understand how the concepts of like everything fits together. So when you combine that with explicit instruction and multiple practice opportunities, it would be an effective way to expand a student's vocabulary and support their content knowledge. Specifically with semantic mappings, you can actually have it for just one student or for a group. So if you wanted to just help one struggling student, you would be able to tell the student to, like, hey, if there's a word you don't understand, pick that, make a note of that, and then you can go like to Google and get it onto a dictionary website, and you're going to research that word specifically to understand it. So draw a map, write that word in the middle, and then pronounce it, or you can even look up online to help get the pronunciation that you need. And in the book where you're reading and found that word, read around it and see if there's any words, and using context clues to help you figure it out. And then you'd get online to look at a dictionary or an online thesaurus to actually look up the word, find its definition, and then you can even then look online to find additional words related, to add maybe the ones that you found from the text. And then you could even add pictures and drawings of other things around that map to help define the concept of what the word means. And you could even print it out from online, or they could physically draw it, and then that could be a project where multiple students then share their maps, that sort of thing. But if you were wanting to do it for like a whole class, the good example I found online was Mr. Green's grade 5 class is studying American presidents. He wants his 25 students to understand how the personality of each president may have impacted the president's political career. Although some students have no difficulty decoding, several students struggle to recognize or remember word meanings. Mr. Green is reintroducing the use of semantic maps to support vocabulary development. The specific objective of the lesson is to have students expand their vocabulary by creating semantic maps to represent the different characteristics of a personality. Mr. Green plans to model this strategy first, and students will then have an opportunity to practice the strategy themselves. The unit will culminate the creation of a multimodal president cards, one component of which will be a semantic map, which will be posted on the class website. As part of this ongoing practice, Mr. Green will use his interactive whiteboard to demonstrate and involve students in creating maps. To gather information for vocabulary development, he will access a website created Abraham Lincoln's Personality. Mr. Green's lesson plan actually was even included on this website, and it shows 3 sections to show the different steps that he takes, like the before reading, during reading, after reading. So like for instance, before reading you would introduce the unit's goals, which are to learn about presidents and create multimodal president cards with a new vocabulary, and then continues on. So you can use a semantic map as actually a part of a lesson. You could do it every week for lesson plans. You could have it towards specific students that are struggling understanding the concept of certain words that can be used in a lot of different ways. So that's why I think it is a great vocabulary strategy to use, and I would definitely implement it probably in several of those ways in my future classroom.